I'd like to start by introducing myself.
It's very customary to do so when two strangers are put on a conference call together. So, yeah.
The name's Hunt.
Oh.
Ethan Hunt.
No, that's the wrong music.
Oh.
Yeah.
I miss it. I mean, don't get me wrong. The Mission Impossible song is like, it's next level compared to like, Baby Shark and shit like that. But I do miss the 007. I miss the 007 theme. Not only at like the beginning of a 007 movie, but when like all of a sudden like the car chase really takes off and it's like it comes in and you're just like, this, I don't know how. I don't know how, but a piece of music has just made this car chase feel sexy. And I don't know what it is, but I'm suddenly slightly turned on by this car scene. And it's mostly probably because 007 has slipped something into my drink. But looking at you, Sean Connery.
I hear what you're saying, and I get it. I think I just can't put an endorsement behind I Miss 007 in that we reviewed the first Mission Impossible, and I think my impression was maybe this is the low, and the highs will come. With 007... we knew that there were some highs coming, but the lows were incredibly low.
It was the Grand Canyon of lows.
Like, pit of the core of the earth lows.
The Marianas Trench.
So
Roger Mooreism.
So with Mission Impossible, like, if I've seen the lowest of the low in number one, and not that it was a bad movie, I just think they're just going to get better. I can live with that low. I am much happier where I am. So
yeah. Hello and welcome.
Welcome to the Movie Men podcast. I am Peter and my co-host is Brady. And after systematically reviewing the 007 series a long time ago, we thought, hey, let's just do a rinse, cycle, repeat, but with Mission Impossible. And boy, does it make sense. It really
let's see if anybody, namely Tom Cruise, can be worse than Roger Moore.
The answer is it's impossible.
To be seen. Yeah. So we're on to MI2. And much
is that what it's referred to? Like, it's not referred to Mission Impossible 2. I think MI2 seems to be...
I know that Mission Impossible 3 is MI3.
Oh, okay.
Like, just simply looking at... Well, I don't know. So here's the thing. If you look it up, like, the official title of the film is Mission Impossible 2.
Sure.
If you look at the logos of the film, like what it says on the movie poster, it's MI2, MI-2.
Sure.
And then Mission Impossible 3. And then after that, they stop numbering them, right?
Yeah, that's where it gets confusing to me, because it's
titled things. It's like Ghost Protocol,
blah, blah, blah.
And Fallout.
Right.
And then what are the new, like Dead Reckoning Part 1 and 2?
Maybe. I have no idea.
And New Dawn and whatever.
New Hope.
Resurrections? Is that a Mission Impossible? No. Ooh, interesting. Mission Impossible Fallout in like maybe Asian markets or something was called
interesting
Resurrections. Anyways. So much like our 007 series, we don't trust ourselves to give accurate scores. And so what we have done is taken our ranking list from the 007 series, which was, if you weren't a part of the 007 series, both What the Hell's Wrong with You and Way to Go, Keep It That Way. We had 8 categories. 8 categories. We gave a number between 0 and 10 for each category. And then when all was said and done, we took those 8 numbers, we averaged them using some of that grade 9 math. And then that left us with our score out of 10 for that film. Now, our categories are plot, fairly straightforward. Is the story, and was it interesting and easy to follow? I think is certainly a part of that. Second off, we have Tom Cruise's performance. So just, which replaced portrayal of Bond. This category was a little bit of a stretch because with portrayal of Bond, you had a very established character with different performers inhabiting the role. This time around, Tom Cruise performance, which is just kind of like, did we enjoy Tom Cruise in this film? Right? How was his acting, essentially? Did we like the character of Ethan Hunt this time around? Right. Then we have the villain. Self-explanatory. We have gadgets, the use and implementation and excitement of the gadgets we get. Does it scratch that itch that I ever have for use of gadgets? We have fights and action. Self-explanatory. The romantic interest, supporting characters, and then the other one that was a little bit of a weird stretch for us was with 007, we had the Bond song. Right. So for each 007 film, you had a different well-known artist. It almost became like, in some ways, the song became a character itself. Like it was just so, as much as like, what is the new 007 film called, or who's going to be the new 007? It was who's going to perform, who gets to do the James Bond song for this one. We've replaced that with intro sequence. So with these films, at least so far, there's sort of that opening scene that kind of like maybe sets up the story, maybe doesn't, but certainly sort of sets the tone. And then you get, the fuse fizzing and whatever it is. And then the 007, then the Mission Impossible theme that we've all come to know and love plays. So those are our 8 categories. Do you have your score handy from the first one?
The overall score was a 6.
The overall score for you for the first one was a 6. Mine was a 7.25. So I enjoyed it a little bit more than you. But I don't know. I wanted to restate those overall scores because it'll be interesting to compare, are we on par? Is it a step up? Or are we sitting there scratching our heads going, okay, what the hell happened? Because that was so much worse. So, cool. All right. So without further ado, are you ready to just jump in and do this? I'm assuming you have no trivia.
Not really. Of note, I did find out this was the highest grossing film in the series until Ghost Protocol. And I thought that was interesting.
Right. I also found out that Tom Cruise was almost replaced in this one. But for time restrictions and like contractual obligations, Nick Cage wasn't able to do it, so they stuck with them.
I did read online that Tom Cruise offered or wanted the director's gig given to John Woo after Tom Cruise saw Face Off. Ironically, coincidentally.
Wow.
And if you don't know what Brady and I think about Face Off, check out episode 250 with Carl as well, and we're pretty honest about it.
Yeah, it's a flaming piece of shit. It's kind of where that went. Okay, so let's kick into it. So our first category, is plot.
Sure.
I gave this a 6.
Okay. Yeah.
It was a step towards, which is a step down. I think I gave it a 7 last time around. It's a step towards being slightly more original. So the plot from the first one being that we have a list and the secret identity of all the secret agents in our organization is on that list, and the bad guys have the list, and whatever, which has been done in at least 17 007 films and so many other espionage-esque movies. So the thing with the virus was a step, I would say a step towards being slightly more original. However, I would say this was like a baby step. Because if I were to say to you, hey, we got this movie about a spy, or if I said, hey, name the movie about the spy where the bad guys have a virus and they're going to release it. again, it's like 47. Like we're not treading any new ground here.
No.
Right? We're not carving a path. So why did I, if it's a step towards being more original, why did I give it a lower score? I think ultimately at times it was a little harder to follow.
Yeah, I can mirror that.
Than the first one. Like, who has it and what are the motivations and why are things happening the way they're happening? Just kind of at times, like, I found myself more often than not playing a little bit of catch up. And ultimately, I just didn't find it as interesting and as gripping as all these people are going to die, right? Like I get that the ultimate outcome of this was that people were going to die, and probably much more than would have died because of that list in the first one. But I don't know. It felt, it was less personal, right? Like in the first one, Ethan Hunt is personally invested. And he becomes personally invested this time around, but not until much later in the game, when his love interest is infected with the virus. And up until that point, it was just kind of like a soldier doing his duty. And so, yeah, it just didn't, the story this time around didn't hit the same way that it did in the first one. So I'm sitting at a 6. Okay. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I'd mirror a lot what you say, not just because I gave it the same score. I gave it a 6 as well. But there was that issue of like me taking a bit of a while to understand what exactly was going on, what's at stake, who's wanting what, and even just like the virus, kind of understanding what's going on. You know, there were times where I was going, okay, you know, if they sat on the plane together in the opening sequence, wouldn't that mean our villain is contaminated? But obviously it's more of a bloodborne virus, I guess, and it's not a airborne virus. I'm not sure. But eventually I was able to follow it to a point. It didn't rank that well for me because I just felt too much of it, a significant portion of the plot, could be labeled literally, quote unquote, sending female lead character in an objectified live bait fashion. And, you know, like, I just felt that was pretty, I don't know, kind of weak from a story perspective, from like allowing a character to achieve greatness in their role perspective. So that kind of hurt it for me. And the last thing I'd say that hurt it for me is just, and this might relate more to the romantic interest with Ethan and his romantic interest later, but I do feel like some elements of this movie, I wondered if the creative team was maybe just really kind of still feel around what their tone was. I feel like maybe they just didn't quite figure out what worked yet, because I feel like some things from a tone perspective were quite different in the first one, and then they were quite different in this one. Like in this one, Ethan felt a little bit more James Bondy, where he's like very chill, very, you know, hey, I met this woman, I'm going to sleep with her now, versus in the first one where he's not to a fault, but he's just a little bit more uptight, a little bit more focused, a little bit more, I need to do what I can to, you know, save the mission or not let anyone else die. So I just felt like some tones were different in this one, and I'm curious to see if that'll just fluctuate with every movie because there's a different director, or if there gets to be a bit more of a set tone as we go on in the show where there's more episodes. But I gave it a 6 out of 10. Not bad, but not great.
All right. Fair enough. So moving on to the Tom Cruise performance. I gave this a 4.
Oh, wow.
And the first time around, I think it was like a 7 or something also. Yeah. Not really impacting the score, but also worth getting out of the way. The long hair look did not work for me.
Right? I always had to like take 2 looks at him. I'm like, oh, there's something a little off for me.
Especially when there's like inexplainably a bunch of wind and they're just like trying to blow his hair around. I was like, what is going on? It just felt like he was phoning this whole thing in. Like what? It was just this endless onslaught of like cheesy lines. and non-believability from his performance, and he didn't seem invested or motivated for the most part. And there was one, and I wish I'd written it down, but he's got one moment. There's the moment in the first one too, where he's talking to the love interest in that one, and they're like back at the hideout, and he just starts like, he kind of has like a Nicolas Cage yelling moment. He's got one in this one towards the end. It's just like one line, and he just like screams it in this most like 8-year-old in a school performance who doesn't know how to act kind of way. Like, it was just super unbelievable and over the top and lacked any kind of actual acting. So, I mean, it was still Ethan Hunt, and it was a little bit fun to see the progression of his character, but also I didn't sense a lot of progression to his character. Like, it didn't feel like, it didn't necessarily feel like, okay, this is the logical development of the character that we saw in the first one and the things that he went through. Like, it just felt so very standalone in that sense that it, you know, this may or may not be the same guy. It could just as easily not be the same guy because there's no signs of what he went through last time. And so, yeah, ultimately it just fell super flat for me and was unfortunately one of the worst parts of this film for me, which is kind of a big deal when he's the main character.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I gave it a 4 out of 10. But I'm guessing by your reaction, it scored a little bit higher.
A little bit, yeah. I'm not greatly offended by what you're saying because I'm definitely picking up what you got. And this is a silly thing. Like, this isn't what you based it off of. But the hair did throw me for a loop as well. I gave it a 6 out of 10. So that's coincidentally what I gave it in the first film, but I think it was just like a slot below the first film. So like maybe in truth, if you zoom in, it's like a 5.9 out of 10, but it's a 6. Was a little bit of a step down, but it was still adequate. And I alluded to this before, you know, Ethan felt okay, but at times he felt a bit off, felt a little bit too James Bondish, you know, when he's seducing Naya. And so there was just some elements where I thought, okay, not the best, but definitely above average, above 5. And I already mentioned the onboarding of John Woo after apparently Tom Cruise saw Face Off. So that's something. A 6 out of 10.
All right. On to villain. Mm-hmm. I gave this a 6 out of 10.
Okay. Yeah.
I think in the moments where it was clear who the villain was, and what the villain was trying to do, it was okay. But I don't know. I never really got. I didn't get it. The villain just wasn't as good as the first one. Right? In the first one, you've got Jon Voight's character and his motivations, although you don't necessarily agree with them. Seem pretty sound. Like, he's not just some dick who's like, I'm going to take over the world. I'm going to kill everybody. He's like, you know, he's been burned by the job and he's tired and he's looking for change and he believes what he's doing is the right thing. And this time around, it just lacked all of that. It just felt like a copy and paste. Like, it could just have as easily have been like Dr. Claw from Inspector Gadget. Like, it was just this, it wasn't this realistic, grounded feeling. And not in the sense that like a 007 villain is, because like when you're talking about a 007 villain, you almost don't want them to be super grounded. You want a little bit of like, oh, horribly misfigured in some accident that now allows them to. Do you know what I mean? Like, you're looking for almost a cartoony villain. And this one was like, it didn't go as far as being a cartoony villain, but it also wasn't super grounded. It was just like generic guy that wants the virus so that he can release
monetary,
for monetary gain.
Yeah.
Right? It's some black market deal. And it's just like, okay. Like, you couldn't relate to the bad guy at all. You couldn't go like, oh, okay, like, I understand his convictions. You couldn't, like it was just blank face, wants money, is doing it by means of procuring a virus and the antidote. And that was it. And so it didn't do anything for me. So I gave it a 6 out of 10 because it was still like, it wasn't garbage.
Yep.
I don't think I ever rolled my eyes when the villain was on screen.
Yeah.
But I already can't. I watched this movie maybe 4 or 5 days ago, and I already can't picture his face. He was, as villains go, just ultra forgettable. So 6 out of 10.
Okay. I give it a 5. I was a bit harder on it, but not too far behind where you were. And there was something about his accent that I just couldn't quite put my finger on it and what it was supposed to be. And I don't know, just something about that. I felt his acting was adequate, wasn't bad, it wasn't amazing. And I think where it came down to where this was inferior to Jon Voight, the way this guy was written is a little bit less glittery than Jon Voight, where Jon Voight has a very significant plot twist involved with his character, and there's a lot of interesting cuts that are involved with it, and images when that reveal comes. So there's a bit more to pump up Jon Voight's role. As with this guy, it was what it was. I felt the female lead being bait was also just kind of lame in general, and that relates to the villain's kind of plot and storyline. So it just was fine. Wasn't bad, but it was fine. And the last thing I'll end it on, when I said it was a 5 out of 10, just of interest, of note, you probably know this, you're more of a X-Men fan than I am, but apparently this movie is the reason Hugh Jackman is Wolverine. I guess this guy who played the villain was potentially offered the role or a leading option for the role of Wolverine, but was busy with MI2, so then that led to Hugh Jackman, which I think a lot of people are ultimately happy that happened.
Okay, hang on. I got to look up the villain here. Because I almost just threw up in my mouth. Sean Patrick Ambrose. Hang on. Google Images. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it's that. I don't know if it's just me looking at it saying no way, or if it's just like the idea of picturing anyone other than Hugh Jackman. But yeah, I'm not.
You're not buying it.
I'm not jumping up and down for it. No. No.
Speaking of jumping up and down, gadgets.
It's a bit of a shame that not all categories are weighed differently. Like, it's a shame that all categories in our system are weighed equal.
To me, I mean, we haven't signed a contractual obligation or agreement. So when I was scoring this, I was almost going to just do something where I had an ultimate score in mind and I was going to fudge the numbers a bit and the average wasn't going to work out. But I thought, okay, they're not all weighed equally. But I understand what you're saying, staying true to a system.
I gave this a 4.
Really?
And I could have been compelled to go lower.
Woo. Spicy.
There's some cool stuff.
Yeah.
Like the laser glass cutter thing.
Yeah. Yes.
Was up there.
Yeah.
But there's not a lot of other really cool, like we get repelling again.
Yeah.
I guess technically I'm not counting, because I don't think you can count the, like, any of the equipment associated with the virus, like the injection guns and stuff like that. Like, I guess it is technology, but it's not like agent issued tech. The glasses are up there. They're pretty cool that
Very
he gets
cool.
his mission briefing on.
Yeah, and they look nice too.
Yeah, which I think is what propelled it up over up over the 3.
Mm-hmm.
But those are the only two that really stand out to me.
That's right.
Are the laser cutter and then the glasses.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, so, and gadgets is such an important category to me. And I was just so wowed the first time around.
Right.
With the pen that does this and the gum that
true.
explodes. And
that's
like,
true.
and it was just like, oh man, this is R&D level shit. Like, this is just the greatest of the great. And this time it was like, okay, yeah, there's like a BS glass cutter. That's a lot of fun. And then the glasses that self-destruct.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. I was left hurting. I was left hurting in the gadgets category. So I gave it a 4 out of 10.
I was quite opposite. I gave it double that. I gave it an 8 out of 10. And,
explain yourself, soldier.
And, I am trying to think about why I did that, because I looked back at my score and I gave it a much lower score on the first film. And I think what improved with this second one and what hurt it in the first one was, there was the cool tech you mentioned, exploding aquariums and whatnot. But there was a lot of stuff that dragged it down for me, like floppy disks and really archaic internet chat rooms that really didn't quite make sense, but were just convenient plot devices. With this, I really enjoyed it. The tracking chip that's in our female lead, the rocket after the amazing rock climbing sequence shot onto the mountain with sunglasses and an earpiece. The masks I still have to qualify under here, although it's a repeat from the first film.
And they went way too heavy this time around.
Well,
they were like everybody had one of these things.
Okay, it was used a lot, but it was used for some really fun propelling of the story moments. So it worked for me. It worked for me.
Okay.
The one thing I will also disagree with you on is I did include the biology virus lab equipment in my gadgets, and I understand in principle why you didn't add it, but I actually turned to my wife when we were watching it, and during that scene, I really said, this is from 2000. So obviously, brace yourself, that's 23 years ago, so don't even think about that aspect. But the tech in those labs actually, I thought, aged really well. Just, they didn't look tacky. They didn't look corny. They didn't look archaic. They just, from a tech perspective, looked legit. From an aesthetic perspective, I really enjoyed what they looked like. So I thought, wow, I am just happy with how this looks. I counted that towards gadgets. All those things together, I gave it a strong 8 out of 10. The one thing I thought was a little lame and maybe a poor choice was just setting up their HQ in that middle of nowhere goat farm that really
what the hell was that?
They had like dial up and they're like, we can't see a dang thing, and it takes us so long to zoom in on this satellite here. But I gave it an 8 out of 10. I really picked up what it was laying down.
No one will ever find us here, man. What was your wife's reaction when you stopped and you were doting over the lab tech? Because to me it seems like this seems like the type of thing that only you could stop the movie to talk about. And I'm just picturing her like, knowing your wife, I'm just picturing her like, yes, sweetheart, it's very impressive.
I think I maybe masked what I said to her, but I just said, wow, this really aged well and it looked cool. And she said, yeah, you're right. Start the movie. And
that's why she's an excellent wife. Because she's willing to lie to you. As the next category, we have fights and action. I gave this a 5. I thought,
gracious,
that all of the action in this film felt like action without a purpose. It felt like it was action there like it was gratuitous action.
Maybe. That's not wrong.
It was ridiculous and over the top, and it wasn't particularly like it. And again, knowing what's to come, it wasn't particularly groundbreaking in any of its action. It wasn't like, oh, wow, look at the stunt they pulled off. That was really spectacular. You can tell at this point, Tom Cruise isn't quite into his, he's not quite into his let's do everything for real and really do it phase, because there's one shot where he's like, the camera's fixed on his face as he's falling face first down like some shaft or something. And it's got to be the worst green screen background I've ever seen in my life. And so that was like it almost as bad as Pierce Brosnan skiing down an avalanche thing that we saw, or water skiing on tidal waves or whatever the hell that was.
Yeah. I think that was Die Another Day. Maybe.
Yeah, it just looked awful. I thought it was super gratuitous, and I didn't see a purpose to most of the action. It wasn't like, oh, okay, yes, like logically this car chase would happen now. And then I think what really drove the nail in the coffin for me was in the final scene where he's about to get on a motorcycle. No, he's not even about to get on a motorcycle, because then that would sort of kind of explain it. There's like a big fight sequence that's about to happen, and he pauses to make sure that he puts on some sunglasses. And
listen,
I'm like,
bugs flying in your face is real.
And I was like, oh, what are these sunglasses? Like, what? Like, you know, I'm expecting to cut to like some sort of shot where you see what he sees, and it's like spectral imaging of you know, like what? No, it's just so that he looks badass. It's literally just so that he looks like a freaking badass. And they're very like 2000s they're like those glasses that we all wore in the early 2000s, right? Like those like sports sunglasses that hug your face. And yeah, I gave it a 5 out of 10 because it really felt like over the top, but not in a good way. Like it felt like, let's just make Tom Cruise look really badass in these fight sequences and in these explosions and in these whatever else, but didn't really feel like they fit. Like it was just pushing it as far as it could push it, but not in a let's really put time and effort and choreograph this kind of way. Just in this like, you know, ooh, let's make it feel like a Steven Seagal kind of,
all right,
nothing can touch this guy sort of way. So 5 out of 10.
Let me just say, hold on to your socks. I gave this a 9 out of 10.
I think we should see other people.
So listen, I watched a lot of special features and I read a lot about this trivia because I was amazed by it. I would counter to what you said being false, and I would say Tom Cruise is very much in his element of being ridiculous. Maybe not at peak Tom Cruise of I'm going to do everything under the sun, but he's pretty darn close. That insane rock climbing intro, real. He had cables on, but he was actually on a cliff.
Okay, so that was epic. But it also went on for, it's also like a 7-minute scene.
I've watched it like 3 times since I watched the movie. I can't get enough of it.
It just keeps going. I'm just like, for the first like half, I was like, wow, this is epic. Care. And then I'm like, okay, you're really just milking this sequence now.
Leading into the mission info with the rocket and the cool sunglasses and the music playing subtly in the background, all for it. The climax fight scene on the cliff or the beach, I forget where it was.
Okay,
but
let's talk about that cliff though, because
sure. Which one?
Like towards the end of the film, it's like early morning or nighttime or something, and he's climbing another rock face. And for sure, I thought, okay, the start of this film is like setting up that he's an established rock climber and he's a total badass. But at some point in this film, he's going to have to take this skill set and push it beyond what even Ethan is comfortable with. And then his rock climbing sequence at the end of this, I'm looking at it going, I'm not totally convinced that I couldn't have done that. Like at the beginning, I'm like, oh, you crazy monster. You're like jumping from one hold to another hold, and you're all over the place, and then it's like in the next one it's like, oh, you went to like the local conservation area and dipped around on the rocks for a bit. Like, I've done that. Like, what yeah, anyways,
I will say, I won't disagree with what you're saying, but I will just say that intro climax where he's climbing the rocks, and even just like the part where he's like sliding and then he slips and he's hanging on for dear life and he just gives that smirk. It's like, okay, badass Ethan's here. Another stunt, the climax knife scene where the knife goes to his eye. Apparently how they filmed it was they tied a rope to the knife, measured it to perfection, so the villain was supposed to put his real weight on it, and then it was just measured to just come short of Ethan's eye. Like, this was like a real stunt that if it went wrong, Tom Cruise is one-eyed Bart from now on. Like, that is legit.
That's crazy legit to me, because I thought it looked super fake in CGI. I thought they were trying to push the envelope, and the technology just wasn't quite there. And they should have left well enough alone. So that's crazy to me, because I thought it was BS and looked horrible.
Crazy to me, because I thought the opening cliff scene was like, okay, this is done on a set. And that's where I found out, no, it was on a real rock face. So I think it's maybe it didn't translate, and yeah, maybe you just didn't realize it was real. I didn't till I found out some of this stuff. The motorcycle sequences are corny, but I was there for them. And I think I'm just feeling this Mission Impossible vibe that, like, I'm just drinking the Kool-Aid. Yes, some of it was gratuitous. Yes, some of it wasn't necessary. Yes, some of it was for style. But I don't care. Like, it's an early 2000 movie, and it was just fun. And I was there for these action sequences. And the cherry on the cake that I will end it off with, and saying here we are 9 out of 10 for fights in action, the climax in the bunker scene where the transaction has just gone on, Ethan Hunt blows up the door, we zoom in on the villain's eyes and we see the flames in the villain's eyes, and then we pan to the door and we see the flames in person, and we see a freaking dove flying through, and then Ethan Hunt just walking around like a boss. And I like, yes, corny. Yes, so ridiculous. And I was just there for it. I really was.
Question, do you think you really liked the motorcycle sequence because for a moment you thought you were watching Top Gun?
There's something there. I didn't realize that, but subconsciously, I think you're quite right.
Yeah.
And in the deleted scene, he said, I feel the need for speed.
Yeah. In romantic interest, I gave this a 6 out of 10.
Really? Okay. Yeah.
Kind of boring.
Yeah.
Just a generic love interest.
Yep.
An IQ of 7, apparently. I literally, I found it hard to continue.
Yeah.
When she injects herself.
Right.
And Ethan says, like, WTF? And she's like, I wasn't thinking. That is her response. That is her justification for why she injected herself. She's like, I wasn't thinking. No shit. No shit you weren't thinking. Like, what? What?
Yeah.
I don't know. It at the end of the day, and this, I don't mean this to sound as crass as it's going to sound.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, she kind of just seemed like another person for Ethan to get into bed. Like, it wasn't, she didn't stand out as like a strong feminine character.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't buy the like, you know, Ethan's kind of just met her. Like, I didn't buy, you know, like, yeah, you're doing your duty to keep her alive, but I didn't buy the, you know, like, she's literally just some stranger that you have liquored up and then humped. Like, I don't get your heartbreak and your emotional connection and how destroyed and distraught you're going to be if she dies. Like, yeah, it was a real step down. It was a real step down. I would say even some of the really crummy Bond girls have something on this love interest. So 6 out of 10, and that may even be Like, I might be a little generous there.
I thought you were. I gave it a 4. And to be clear, I liked the actor who portrayed Naya. I don't think it's a slight on her. I just think it was a slight on the way she was written and what her involvement was in this story. I didn't buy their chemistry, and I feel like Zach made this point maybe in the first one when he alluded of things to come. You know, this didn't seem like a situation where Ethan had an equal. Like, I feel like maybe if the character had been written better and she challenged him a bit more, I would have liked this character more. But that just wasn't the case, and I just feel like her role was subdued. And I said this before, but like, it's just her role in this scheme was not her ability to do a heist, ability to steal, ability to, you know, do cool things. It was literally just be romantic bait. And I use not even romantic, like just be bait. And I just thought it was weak. So I gave it a 4 out of 10.
Yeah. Supporting characters. I gave this a 4 out of 10.
Yep.
And prove me wrong.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
I don't know, name one. Like, I don't know. I just, in a first movie where you've got, you know, so like we've got, what's his face? The computer hacker guy is back. Luther's back. And so that was cool. But I felt like he had less room to be fun and entertaining in this one. And that's and so then Anthony Hopkins, okay. Anthony Hopkins is incredible in the 17 seconds of this film that he appears in. I don't know. It was uninteresting from a supporting character standpoint. It kind of felt like it was just Ethan the whole time. And I didn't really, not only did I not care about any supporting character, I just kind of felt like I didn't get to know any supporting characters. Like, yeah, it just didn't do anything for me. 4 out of 10.
Mm-hmm. I give it a 4 as well. You know, it's very top heavy. I thought Luther was amazing. Could he have been used more? Of course. But I thought at least he's there. I'm glad he's continued on in this story. And everything he said, I enjoyed his comedic humor. But the rest is just like, it's top heavy in Luther and nothing else. You know, you've got Brendan Gleeson is kind of the villain henchman, you know, whatever you'd classify him as. Meh. Anthony Hopkins, you know, there's this measurable tension and angst between him and Ethan, but it has zero payoff. Like, it's not explained. It's not further developed. So it's just kind of like a weird, I don't know what's going on there. You got the helicopter pilot who comes with Luther and literally says hi or some such, and then literally has like no role further than that, other than just to be there to fly a helicopter. And yeah, so a lot of meh. Luther was amazing, but the rest is meh. So I gave it a 4 out of 10. Of note, I guess they thought about Ian McKellen is the role of Anthony Hopkins being Ethan's superior, but thank the Lord on high that did not happen, because that may have infringed or ruined the chances of who we have as Gandalf. And man,
and then again Magneto in the X-Men movies.
Sure, I feel of the two things, Gandalf is the bigger oh no for me, but fair.
Oh
point.
sure, but
fair
also
point.
yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Last one.
The intro sequence. I also gave this a 4 out of 10.
Okay.
You know, the plane scene is kind of cool. We get kind of like a not a halo jump, but we get a plane jump, a free fall.
Mm-hmm.
We get the plane crashing, sort of. We don't see it crash, but we're aware that that's what's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
We do get the mask thing. We get a little bit of an advancement in the mask technology, and in which we now see the voice changer, which I feel like we didn't see in the first one.
I don't.
The circuitry on their throat, that like sticky thing.
Yeah, I don't remember.
But ultimately, I don't know, didn't stand out as anything super crazy. And then the music plays, like the you see the dynamite fuse start fizzling, and the song starts, and if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I don't know what the hell they were thinking. But they tried to do like a rocky, like a rock music sort of popped up, crazy, edgy version of the theme song. And I don't know that anything in this film disappointed me as much as thinking that I was about to hear the 007 theme. And then this played, and I was like, what the hell is that? It just didn't fit. It wasn't right. And yeah, don't screw with the classic is kind of all I can say about that. Like I was really upset. Like I was like, oh wow, okay, that's gonna kind of set the tone moving forward. And it did because like the same way I felt about the music, I was like, okay, this is like really tacky, like let's punch it up and take it to the next level. And then that's kind of what they did with the action. It's kind of what they did. And it just all sort of had that like crummy, tacky early 2000 action feel to it, instead of this like Mission Impossible espionage gadgets, sensible fighting and action feel. So yeah, 4 out of 10 for the intro. And maybe I could go lower, except for the plane stuff was kind of cool.
I give this a 6 out of 10. This is one of those categories where I kind of obligatorily gave it a number because I had a overall score in mind. But like, if I had done the, each category's not worth the same amount, I truly probably would have given it lower. But I gave it a 6 just randomly here. Yeah, the MI theme was fun. I did like it subtly, like when it was like the guitar in the background when he's putting on his sunglasses. But I felt it was underused, and I felt like just, you're right, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So like in the opening theme or in other themes, kind of stick to the truer sense of the truer rendition of the theme. And just the soundtrack overall, I found a lot of times was off-putting, the heavy like Metallica vibes. So it just wasn't my cup of tea. So I felt like the soundtrack could have been a lot better. So not great.
All right, here's the moment. If I take all my numbers, so keeping in mind that Mission Impossible numero un, the first one, got 7.25.
Sure.
I take all my numbers from this one and tabulate them.
Of course.
Average them.
Yes.
And then type the number into my spreadsheet.
And?
I get a 4.85.
Holy man. Big
this
difference.
film, which again, just adds validity to our ranking system. It's exactly how I felt. This is not a garbage movie, but a serious and significant step down from the first one. I was not thrilled. This movie ended, and the first thing I did was watch the trailer for the third one because I needed hope. I needed to hopefully see something that was like, okay, all right, it's not over. We can come back. We can come back from this. So yes, 4.85 out of 10. What are your numbers? What is the story that your numbers tell?
Yeah, very close. So both given a 6 out of 10. Just how they got there was very different. So I would put the first one in the number 1 slot, and number 2, MI2, goes in the second slot. And there's, like I said, how they got there is very different. There's aspects that I like about the second one a touch more. There's aspects I like about number 1 that I like a touch more. And just neither one is a real clear winner, but just the first one edges it out just by a bit.
Really? But more or less, they were on par.
In overall score.
Crazy. Yeah, I don't think there was a single category that I didn't rank lower in this one.
And I think maybe I'm just partly on the Mission Impossible train now, where, even, like I said, the lows of this I'm more tolerable with. So, like, yes, maybe it was slightly objectively worse, but I still had fun continuing this Ethan journey. And I think I'm just so excited to continue it that, like, it wasn't so offensive to me that it ruined the film viewing experience itself.
Interesting. Mm-hmm. Okay, well, that will do it until our next... I was going to say 007. I want it so bad.
Don't you dare.
I want it so bad. Until our next Mission Impossible review.
Yes.
Send us off, sir.
Perfect. Well, thank you very much for listening. We really appreciate it. We're happy to be back on this series, and we will continue it like Brady said. Check out our socials below. Please like, follow, subscribe. Please give us a positive rate and review wherever you're listening. And check out our Patreon page. It's ways for you to support the show, ways for us to give you some perks back. So for as little as $1 a month, you get the input on votes, giving us some ideas for vote options, the occasional bonus episode, the occasional video feed of special episodes, and then there's higher tiers for even more perks like merchandise for increased voting powers. So just check out that if you're so inclined, and stay tuned for upcoming episodes and upcoming votes. And if you choose to accept, which you should, then we'll talk to you soon.
That was a bloody good episode, I think. It was a bloody good episode.